So we will begin. Thanks everybody for your patience. This is Kathleen Drew, Chair of Washington's Energy Facility Site Evaluation Council, and I'm calling our June meeting to order. I want to start by saying, in addition to our recording of this meeting, we are also being recorded by TVW. So just to let everyone know, I will start by asking our clerk, Ms. Owens, to call the roll.
Department of Commerce.
Kate Kelly, present.
Department of Ecology.
Rob Dingle, present.
Department of Fish and Wildlife.
Mike Livingston, present.
Department of Natural Resources.
Lenny Young, present.
Utilities and Transportation Commission.
Stacy Brewster, present.
For the Goose Prairie Project, Department of Transportation.
Bill Sorial, present.
For the Horse Heaven Project, Department of Agriculture.
Excused.
Benton County.
Excused.
Thank you. The Assistant Attorney General.
This is John Thompson, present.
Administrative Law Judges, Johnette Sullivan. Adam Torum.
This is Judge Torum. I'm on the line.
For Council Staff, Sonia Bumpus.
This is Sonia Bumpus.
Amy Kidder.
Amy Kidder, present.
Amy Moon.
Amy Moon, present.
Kyle Overton.
Kyle Overton here.
Patty Betts.
Patty Betts, present.
Stu Henderson.
Stu Henderson here.
Stephen Posner. Okay, and I see we have our court reporter on the line. Can you please identify yourself?
Yes, my name is Patsy Jacoy, Jacoy.
Thank you. For operational updates, Kittitas Valley Wind.
Eric Melbardis, present.
Wild Horse Wind Power Project.
Jennifer Galbraith, present.
Grays Harbor Energy Center.
Excused.
Chehalis Generation Facility.
Mark Miller, present.
Columbia Generating Station.
Hi, Mary Ramos isn't here today, so I'll read for her.
Thank you.
Thank you. The Council for the Environment.
Bill Sherman is Counsel for the Environment. Also with me is Megan Salome from our division.
Thank you. Chair, there is a quorum.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on the line who would like to introduce themselves?
Owen Hurd.
Got Blake Bjornson here.
Okay, so one at a time. I heard Owen Hurd from Tuso
One.
Energy. Yes.
Yep.
And then
Yeah,
Blake.
and you got Blake Bjornson from One Energy for
Thank
Goose Prairie Solar.
And Dave Kobus with Scout Clean Energy, Horse Heaven Project.
Thank you.
Tim McMahon with Stoll Reeves Law Firm.
Okay. With that, we will move to our proposed agenda. You see that on the screen and you've received it ahead of time, council members. Is there a motion to adopt the proposed agenda?
Rob Dingle, motion to adopt agenda.
Thank you. Any discussion? Oh, second. Let's get a second on the record.
Stacy Brewster, I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the proposed agenda, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, agenda is adopted. Moving on to the meeting minutes for our May 18th monthly meeting minutes. They're on the screen. Is there a motion to approve the minutes, Ms. Kelly?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Mike Livingston will second.
Thank you. I believe there are some corrections. Ms. Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, if you look at page 2 of the minutes, where it talks about the council members' appearances, that it just needs to be corrected to reflect who was actually there and what agency they were representing, because it doesn't do that currently.
I believe under the appearances, we need to add Rob Engel from the Department of Ecology. And we also have to add the Horse Heaven project, and both when I checked the minutes, Mr. Brost and Mr. Sanderson were both at that meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Rob Dangle.
And I represent the Department of Commerce, not Ecology, so my name should have that.
Oh, I missed that. Thank you. There we go. And Ms. Owens, you'll work with our court reporter to make sure that those corrections are made?
I will correct the minutes, yes.
Thank you. With those changes, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the May 18th council meeting, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? The minutes as amended are approved. Moving to our facility updates. First, we have Kittitas Valley Wind Power Project. Mr. Melbardis.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, FSEC, Council, and staff. For the record, this is Eric Melbardis with EDP Renewables for the Kittitas Valley Wind Power Project. I have nothing non-routine to report for the period.
Thank you. I do see that you had a monthly, you had a capacity factor of over 50% for the month of May.
Yes, we did. Been pleasantly windy for a wind farm.
Thank you. Moving on to our next facility, Wild Horse Wind Facility, Ms. Galbraith.
Yes, thank you, Chair Drew, council members and staff. This is Jennifer Galbraith with Puget Sound Energy for the Wild Horse Wind Facility. For the month of May, I have one non-routine item, and that is the Kittitas County Fire Marshal conducted the annual fire life and safety inspection on May 24th. A couple of minor items were identified during the inspection and were either resolved during the inspection or are in the process of being resolved. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I did see that, and congratulations for the very good safety inspection results.
Thank you.
Moving on to thank you. Chehalis Generation Facility, Mr. Miller.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, FSEC Council, and staff. This is Mark Miller, the plant manager representing the PacifiCorp Chehalis Generation Facility. I have one non-routine note in the submitted report for the month of May. As mentioned in the April report, the Chehalis plant conducted an annual relative accuracy test audit of continuous emission monitors during the last week of April. After reviewing the laboratory analysis of the volatile organic carbon components, we believe that the analysis results were suspect due to a laboratory quality assurance issue. Therefore, we remobilized the stack sampling contractor to pull new samples for VOC analysis at a different laboratory. The follow-up stack sampling was conducted on Friday, June 4th, and we were waiting for follow-up laboratory analysis results. The final RADA report will be reviewed by PacifiCorp corporate environmental staff prior to being submitted to FSEC staff later this week or early next week. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions? From council? I heard an echo. Ms. Owens, are you also hearing an echo from me? Or is it just
I
a
am
delay?
hearing an echo.
Yes, I believe somebody might have their microphone open.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it stopped.
okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Are there any questions from council members? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to our next update, which is the Grays Harbor Center, Grays Harbor Energy. Mr. Overton will make that report.
Yes, thank you. This is Kyle Overton, the FSEC site specialist for the Grays Harbor facility. This month, Grays Harbor had no non-routine items to report. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Overton.
Thank you.
Moving on to Columbia Generating Station and WNP 1 and 4. And we will hear the report from Miss Amy Moon.
Thank you, Chair Drew. This is Amy Moon, FSEC staff. I'm a facility site specialist. Mary Ramos had another engagement and couldn't make it today, so I'll read her report. This is actually for Columbia Generating Station as well as WNP 1 and 4. At Columbia Generating Station on April 23rd, 2021, FSEC responded to Energy Northwest comment addressing federal preemption of Washington State's authority to regulate the Columbia Generating Station, otherwise known as CGS, radioactive air emissions. And on May 26th, Energy Northwest submitted a response and requested a meeting with FSEC to discuss the next steps for further coordination with FSEC and Department of Health. And an upcoming event is on May 8th, Energy Northwest began its R25 refueling and maintenance outage, which is a target duration of 35 days, which I believe would be this Thursday to conclude. And there's no updates for WNP 1 and 4. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Moon. And as I understand it, what Columbia Generating Station and staff and FSEC staff will talk about with the Department of Health, where there are overlaps and review those requirements. So you are all in a process of setting up a meeting to discuss that. Is that correct?
Correct. It's still an ongoing work in progress about radioactive air emissions.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay. We will move on to Desert Claim Wind Power Project. Ms. Moon. You're back up.
Okay, thank you, Chair Drew and council members. I was having a mouse problem. So for the record, this is Amy Moon providing an update on the Desert Claim project. FSEC staff continued to coordinate with Desert Claim. However, there are no project updates at this time.
Thank you. Okay, now we are moving on to the Columbia Solar Project. And we start with Mr. Kyle Overton.
Yes, thank you. This is Kyle Overton, the FSEC staff for Columbia Solar. There's a lot of stuff to go over today, so it would be in a couple different sections. First, FSEC staff are finalizing construction phase plan review in preparation for anticipated start date of construction at the end of this month. Per the site certification agreements, or SCAs, for the 3 sites, all plans and necessary permits must be approved prior to beginning site preparation and construction activities. The FSEC manager has been delegated authority to approve the required plans, save the initial site restoration plan, or ISRP, which must be approved by the council. Before I move on to the next part, is there any questions on that part of the update?
Any questions? Go ahead.
Okay. So this brings us to discussion on the ISRP, WAC 463-72040 and Article 4 of the site certification agreements require the approval by the council of an initial site restoration plan. This plan must document the process and necessary requirements to restore each site to an approximate pre-project conditions or better. The council provided copies of the proposed plans on June 1st for their review and consideration. At this time, FSEC staff are recommending the council vote to approve the initial site restoration plans for the Utica, Penstemon, and Camas sites for the Columbia Solar Project. Any questions on that part?
Are there any questions? Mr. Dangle, will you make a motion?
Rob Dingle, Ecology. I'd like to make a motion to approve the initial site remediation plans for the Camas, Penstemon, and Utica sites.
Utica, there.
Utica, my apologies.
That's okay. Is there a second?
Kate Kelly, second.
Thank you. You've had those plans to review. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the initial site restoration plan, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? The motion carries. We have approved the initial site restoration plan for the Columbia Solar Project. Thank you all. Mr. Overton?
Yes, thank you. Continuing on, the next part of the briefing here for Columbia Solar is that a notice of intent for each of the 3 sites for requesting coverage under a general construction stormwater permit was submitted by the certificate holder on April 28th. In accordance with WAC 463-76041, a 30-day public comment period began on May 19th and will conclude on June 18th. To date, no comments have been received. In order to facilitate the construction approval process, FSEC staff is requesting the council to consider voting on a conditional approval for granting coverage under the Ecology Construction Stormwater General Permit at this time. If no substantial comments are received upon the close of the comment period, the general stormwater permits would then be issued. If substantive comments are received, the permits would not be issued and FSEC staff would return to the council with the comments and a recommendation on permit issuance. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions for Mr. Overton? Hearing none, Mr. Dangle, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to grant coverage under the Ecology Construction Stormwater General Permit in the event that no substantive comments are received.
Is there a second?
Stacy Brewster, second.
Thank you. Any discussion? I think that seeing that there haven't been any comments received to date and the comment period ends at the end of this week, that, you know, as you heard Mr. Overton state, should there be any substantive comments received, it will not go forward in this motion. But I think this way we can facilitate moving forward if we have no substantive comments. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Is there anything else, Mr. Overton?
No, Chair Drew, that is all I have for Columbia Solar. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. I'll go ahead.
Oh, this is Kate Kelly, Chair Drew. Before we left Columbia Solar, I just was wanting to make sure I understood what needs to happen before construction can begin. It sounds like construction is going to begin in like 2 weeks. So, I mean, understandably, the stormwater permit public comment period has to expire, but what else has to happen?
Yes, I can
Mr.
speak to that.
Yes.
There's a couple things that need to happen for Columbia Solar to be granted approval to start construction. The first of those, like you mentioned, is the stormwater permit. Any necessary permit would be required to be in place and approved. There's also several plans that need to be approved. One of those being the initial site restoration plan that the council is required to vote on, which was approved earlier. And the rest of the required plans, and there's several of them, such as a public safety, fire control plan, construction management plan. Those also need to be approved, and that authority has been delegated to the FSEC manager, Sonia Bumpus. So once all those plans and their permits are approved, then at that point they've fulfilled their requirements under the site certification agreement to begin construction.
And you've received all of those plans and permits, and they have been going through review and basically are awaiting maybe final sign off. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, we're in the very final stages of getting the rest of the plans approved. Hopefully within the next week or so, we'll have that completed.
And one follow-up question, Chair.
Sure.
So the initial application had 5 sites in it, and now there's 3. The other 2 are not going to be developed. Is that correct?
Perhaps we could have Mr. Owen Hurd. First of all, I want to say congratulations that, moving forward with these 3 sites, but I do know you were on the call and perhaps you'd like to respond to that question.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Drew, council members and staff. That's correct. We're in the process of preparing a motion that will go in front of the council for consideration that will both withdraw the Taifa and Fumeria projects and also contemplate a transfer of the SCA. And so those will be forthcoming, but that is correct. Those 2 projects encountered problems that cannot be overcome. And so we will be moving forward with just the 3 projects that were discussed today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Does that answer your questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That just raised another question about the transfer of the SCA. So that would be an ownership transfer of the of the project, I guess.
Yes, and we haven't received that information yet, but Mr. Hurd, who is with Tuso Energy, has notified the staff that that's in process. So we will hear about it and be able to examine that before, but we do vote on that.
Okay, that's helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else, Ms. Bumpus, that you'd like to add?
No, that covers everything. Yeah.
Okay.
More to follow on that.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. In the meantime, we look forward to the start of construction. So moving on then to our next item, the Goose Prairie Solar Project. Mr. Overton.
Yep, thank you again. This is Kyle Overton, the site specialist for the Goose Prairie project. Staff are in the final stages of application review and are coordinating with the applicant and our contracted agencies to finalize development of a staff memo for the SEPA responsible officials review. There will be more information on that in a moment. As you will remember, on March 30th, FSEC Council and staff held a virtual land use hearing to allow for testimony on land use consistency. In preparation for this meeting, the applicant submitted a letter to the council dated March 12th that included a certificate of consistency and compliance from Yakima County. At this time, staff recommend that the county make a determination that the proposed project is consistent and in compliance with county land use plans and zoning ordinances per RCW 80.50.090. John Thompson is on the call and can provide additional information on land use as well.
Mr. Thompson, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, Chair and council members, this is John Thompson, Assistant Attorney General. I am FSEC's legal advisor. I just wanted to provide a little of the statutory context for the land use consistency determination that you're being asked to vote on. So under RCW 8050.090, FSEC is required to conduct a public hearing to determine whether or not a proposed site is consistent and in compliance with city, county, or regional land use plans or zoning ordinances. As Mr. Overton said, you had that hearing in March over the virtual platform. The effect of a council determination that the proposed site conforms to land use plans and zoning ordinances. One effect is that the statute states that the planning authority shall not thereafter change such land use plans or zoning ordinances so as to affect the proposed site. So so it serves a bit of a vesting function in that regard. But the council's determination of land use consistency shouldn't be confused with an endorsement of the project or a decision on the application. It serves a narrower function, which I'll get to here in a second, with the standard that the council has followed in the past decisions as to what it means to be consistent and in compliance. But there's another aspect that plays in here, and that is that the One Energy, the developer of the Goose Prairie site, has submitted a request for expedited processing, as they're entitled to do under the statute. And in order to grant a request for expedited processing, which results in the waiving of the adjudicative hearing, the two requirements for that is that you make a determination of land use consistency, and also that the environmental impacts of the project are not significant or can be mitigated to non-significant levels. So that's a determination. That second determination is one that the FSEC SEPA responsible official, which is the FSEC manager, Sonia Bumpus, would make. But then turning to the the land use consistency, as you can see, is an input to a decision on expedited processing from the council. So I want to turn to what does it mean to be consistent and in compliance with local land use. So basically, the standard that the council has developed is that the project is said to be consistent if it can be either permitted outright or conditionally in the zone in which the project is proposed. And in this case, as has been spoken to in a certificate submitted by Yakima County Planning, under the Yakima County Code, the proposed facility is considered to meets the definition of a power generating facility. And power generating facilities that are proposed to be located in the agricultural zoning district are considered type 3 uses under the code, Yakima County Code, and they are, quote, uses which may be authorized subject to the approval of a conditional use permit. Type 3 conditional uses are not generally appropriate through the zoning district. The type 3 uses require a hearing examiner review of applications. So, in other words, projects of this sort are eligible to apply for a conditional use permit, and consistent with how the council has previously addressed land use consistency. If a project could be permitted conditionally, then it is considered for purposes of this threshold land use consistency determination to be consistent and in compliance. So when a local land use authority submits this kind of a certificate attesting to the consistency of the proposed project with the land use regulations, then that's considered prima facie evidence of consistency, meaning it's accepted as correct unless it's proved otherwise or rebutted. So the council didn't hear any comment or evidence from any members of the public to challenge that assertion from the county. So the council has in front of it sufficient evidence with the certificate submitted by the county planning department to make the determination at this time as staff is recommending. So hopefully that provides you with a little more context for this and understanding of the significance of the decision that's in front of you. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Are there questions from council members? Okay, hearing none.
Oh, sorry, this is Rob Dangle. I had a clarification question on the conditional use permit. And that is, if we make the determination that it's consistent with the land use laws, then can we are we then bound to that determination when determining whether or not to issue a conditional use permit?
Mr. Thompson?
Yes, thank you. So the way the council has dealt with this in the past is to say that whether the applicable conditional use criteria are in fact met is a question for later FSEC proceedings. So if the county process is to have a hearing examiner make a determination about whether the conditional use criteria that are set forth in the county code are met, then the council precedent, for these types of things is to say that there will be some process provided for that determination later in the in FSEC's review of the SCA application. So there would need to be, council would need to address that in making an expedited processing determination.
Thank you for the clarification. Yeah, that's very helpful.
Chair, do I have a question?
Oops, go ahead.
And this is for staff. Can we just get an update on the progress of SEPA analysis?
I believe that they're ready to provide that next.
Okay.
Yes, that is on the agenda.
Yeah, they're and it's because we need both determinations to do expedited processing. We're taking one at a time. So if we can deal with this on land use consistency, then we'll move on to that next update. So is there a motion, Mr. Livingston?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion, Chair. So I'd like to make a motion that staff work with the administrative law judge to draft an order that incorporates the council's determination on land use with the SEPA determination and present that.
Can we back up? There was another suggestion sent out late this morning that we start, and this is my fault. I should have clarified. Let's first have a motion on land use consistency. And so perhaps we should have a motion to determine that the proposed project is consistent and in compliance with county land use plans and zoning ordinances. Would you like to make that motion, Mr. Livingston?
Sure. So I'd like to make a motion that land use consistency is in compliance with county zoning and permitting processes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Lenny Young, second.
Okay. Discussion? I think we've heard the discussion that the county has provided the certificate. There hasn't been any statement to the contrary by any member of the public. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, motion carries. Okay, let's now move on to the SEPA discussion. Mr. Overton.
If I could jump in, Chair Drew, for the record, this is Amy Kidder, and if it's all right, I would like to provide the council with an update on the status of SEPA and proposed next steps for Goose Prairie.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you so much. As Kyle mentioned previously, staff are continuing coordination with the applicant and our contracted agencies. Staff are finalizing documents for a staff memo to the FSEC manager, who is the SEPA responsible official, and staff are preparing to issue a mitigated determination of non-significance, or MDNS, which has a 14-day public comment period requirement associated with that. After the comment period, barring any substantive comments or need for revision to the MDNS, the SEPA process would be complete for Goose Prairie. Are there any questions on that?
Are there questions? Mr. Livingston, did you have us want additional information?
No, I was that's helpful for me. I was just interested in the status of it. I do want to make a comment and appreciate the thorough work that FSEC staff have done to this point, and for Agent Thompson's assistance on understanding the process that we're in. It's thorough as usual, and I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Are there other questions from council members about the status of the SEPA determination? We have been joined by Ms. Kidder's youngsters on the microphone here. Nice.
Yeah, sorry.
No, no worries. Any other questions from council members? Okay, hearing none. The idea here is that we have a motion, and I think Mr. Livingston started that before, so let's go back to that previous motion.
I could provide just a little bit more context, if that's okay with you, Chair Drew?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
All right, thank you. WAC 463-43050 states that a proposal is eligible for expedited process when 1, the proposed site is consistent and in compliance with city, county, or regional land use plans, zoning ordinances, and 2, the environmental impacts are not significant or may be mitigated to a non-significant level under RCW 4321C031. So with the council's determination of land use consistency today, as well as the issuance of the MDNS, the required information will be available for the council to make a decision on the applicant's request for expedited process. And staff at this time would like to request that the council direct staff to draft an order which incorporates the land use decision and information about the SEPA decision into an order about expedited process that the council can then discuss and vote on at the July council meeting.
Are there any questions about that process? Mr. Livingston, would you like to make a motion?
Yes. So I'd like to make a motion that staff work with the administrative law judge to draft an order that incorporates the council's determination on the land use with SEPA determination and present that order to the council for a vote on expedited processing at our July council meeting.
Is there a second?
Kate Kelly, second.
Thank you. Discussion. There are a lot of steps to putting this together, so I appreciate everybody's patience with that, starting with the land use consistency and now moving on with the SEPA determination coming being finalized by the SEPA responsible official, who is Sonia Bumpus. What will happen between now and the next council meeting is you all will get a draft order for expedited processing that you can review and provide comments back to staff on. And so that will provide the justification in writing for both the land use consistency decision as well as describing the SEPA determination. So you will see that all in the draft of the order. And then we're not saying now that we approve that order, we're saying that we are asking the staff to draft that, to send it to us, and that will be under consideration for us to determine whether or not to move forward with that order at our July meeting. Is that clear?
Yes, clear.
Okay.
Chair Drew, this is Sonia Bumpus. I just wanted to, may I address the council?
Sure.
Thank you, Chair Drew, and good afternoon, council members. I didn't greet you earlier. I wanted to just add that when you get the draft order that staff would prepare, along with that, you will also get the supporting documents for the SEPA determination. I realize that you have not seen those yet. They, as staff discussed earlier, they have been in the works, and I have been working closely with the staff as those are nearing finalization. But the council will also get the SEPA staff memo and the MDNS supporting documents and so on, which, as Chair Drew mentioned, will be discussed in the order, but you'll also get those supporting documents. I just want to let the council members know that you'll get those documents as well. Thank you.
And if anyone has a question, certainly contact Ms. Bumpus about any of those materials when you receive them. And she'd be happy to discuss in detail with any of you individually, any questions you might have. Okay. We have a motion on the floor and a second, and we've had some discussion. Is there any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of directing the staff to prepare the order for expedited processing, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? The motion is adopted. Thank you all. We will now move on to our Horse Heaven Wind Project update. Ms. Moon.
Good afternoon, Council Chair Drew and council members. For the record, this is Amy Moon providing an update on the Horse Heaven Wind Project. The comment period for the State Environmental Policy Act, aka SEPA, determination of significance and request for comments on scope of environmental impact statement, which is the acronym is EIS, for the Horse Heaven Wind Project closed after a 30-day public comment period on June 10th, 2021. A total of 361 comments were received during the comment period. FSEC staff are processing the comments and working with our consultant Golder to identify the resources that require detailed analysis in the EIS. Does the council have any questions?
Are there questions for Ms. Moon? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me, Chair Drew. This is Rob Dangle.
Yes.
I was wondering if we could get the approximate next steps on Horse Heaven.
Okay.
Time frame wise.
Ms. Moon.
So Ms. Council Member Dangle, the time frame has not been determined. That's a work in progress. We have to first go through the comments, identify what resources need the detailed analysis, and we don't have a roadmap yet for that. So we'll have to give you an update at the next council meeting, and we should have it much more lined out by then.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Other questions? Okay. We are at the end of our facility and project updates. However, we have a couple items for the good of the order. First of all, Ms. Kidder has some updates on staffing.
Thank you, Chair Drew. We are in the process of bringing on board 2 additional FSEC site specialists who will be helping us address our workload, both for the transmission corridor work group, which I think we're going to hear just a little bit more about in a moment, as well as our application review. A Mr. Joseph Wood and a Mr. Sean Chisholm are starting with FSEC tomorrow. So we will look forward to introducing them to the council at next month's meeting.
Thank you. And also, Stu Henderson's going to give us a very short update about the transmission work group. That's a work group that is in the clean energy statute that has directed us to put together a transmission work group for a report back to the legislature by the end of 2023. So, Mr. Henderson?
Yes, thank you, Chair Drew. Yes, Section 25 of the Clean Energy Transformation Act of 2019 asked you as the chair of FSEC to pull together a Clean Energy Transformation Act, Transmission Corridor Work Group to study, to basically review the need for upgraded new electrical transmission distribution facilities, identify areas where those might be located, and look at environmental review options that might be required and recommend ways to expedite those. It designated 18 members of that of the work group, 8 from state government and 10 from the private sector, as well as Bonneville Power Administration and Department of Defense, to make 20 total. And that, although that was passed in 2019, but that work was scheduled to, that group was asked to convene in July of 2021. So we're working now on gathering the membership of that group. And I just wanted to let folks know that we will be contacting your agencies, the heads of your agencies, to request their appointment of a member, and you'll be CC'd on that. And hopefully you might be able to help make sure that gets to the right person at the right time. And you'll be hearing more about that as we go forward.
Thank you. So just so that you will be able to let your agencies know, please respond to our request for participants. So thank you very much. I think that's all the business to come before us today. So we will be again providing you with the draft order before our July meeting with plenty of time for your review, which will also include the SEPA documentation. And we will then prepare to take action on that at our July 20th meeting. So with that, this meeting of the FSEC Council is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.